And good evening. This is Newsline on KTN News. My name is Eric Latif. Tonight, we want to have a conversation about IEBC's preparedness ahead of the general election, August 9th. From now until then, it's only 33 days. How prepared is the Commission? We have seen several issues emanating from the courts, which are seeming to stop the Commission on some issues that they ought to be doing. Also, we are seeing some complaints coming from various quarters, especially the presidential campaigns, and we are seeing some uncertainty from members of the public. Joining us this evening are two commissioners from the IEBC. The Vice Chairperson, Juliana Cherera, is in the studio with us, and Commissioner Francis Wanderi. Commissioners, asante sana for joining us, and Vice Chairperson.
Thank you, Latif.
Glad to be here.
You know, we only have 33 days to go before the election. And everybody, of course, has been gearing up towards August 9th. Today, in the courts, you've been told all those things that you had said about independent candidates, they are unconstitutional, which means that you have got to go back to the drawing board. Where are you as we sit now with regards to the court ruling today and with regards to the court rulings in this last 7 days? I'll start with you, Vice Chair.
Thank you, Latif, for having us in this show. And indeed, today there's been a court ruling, and it has come to our attention as the Commission. But I want to say to Kenyans that we are prepared for the elections. We gazetted the election timelines with a gazette notice back in January 20th this year. And the gazette notice had all the dates and the timelines that we need to follow according to the law. And as IEBC, we have followed all the timelines and ensure that everything is done. At this point where we are, we've just finished the nomination, registration of candidates, and the gazettement of the same, and the rolling out of the ballot papers printing. So even as the court ruling has just come today, how we operate is we'll go back to the plenary, to the drawing board, and sit as commissioners. We have the legal team that usually advises us. So with that, by the end of business today, we'll get a way forward. But where we stand, election is a process. It has been gazetted with timelines, and we have followed through. And we are at a point where these things that are being spoken about are behind us.
But why are you prepared for such an outcome? I mean, it's not that the courts were just sitting out of the blues. You knew that there was a matter before court. So you must have been prepared for either outcome. What was your preparedness for this particular outcome of today's?
Let me tell you, Eric, as IEBC, we follow the legal provisions that are there. We follow the Constitution of Kenya 2010. We follow the Elections Act and every provision and the regulations. And IEBC does not make the laws. It is the parliament that makes the laws. And in the making of the law, there was public participation of the same. So as we sit at plenary, we follow the law to the letter. And the processes we have done until today, we have followed the law. So when you say that were we not prepared, we were prepared for the election that is before us on the 9th of August.
No, my question is actually with regards to the particular challenge that was taken to court. Why are you prepared for today's outcome?
The outcome is repealing a section of the regulation. Were we prepared that section is going to be repealed? No. We followed it to the letter.
So you say that now you're going back into plenary, you are going to review the court decision, and then you'll make a way forward. You'll determine a way forward.
Yes.
When should we expect an announcement for this? Especially the independent candidates are waiting to hear. So do we come back? Do we resubmit our forms without the ID copies? What do we do next? Those are waiting to hear what the word of the IEBC is going to be.
Thank you. Our legal directorate will have received this order, and then they'll come to plenary with their advisory, and we sit as commissioners and decide the way forward. So by tomorrow, end of business, we don't have the time. As you said, we have only 36 days remaining. 34 days remaining. Yes, and with the same breath, we are going to give a way forward as the commission.
Commissioner Wanderi, as we are dealing with these 33, 34 days, or even the last 40 days, there have been issues that you're dealing with on a daily basis. For instance, there was the issue of the audit of the register. And complaints were raised about the process of auditing the register. Issues also emanated from the audit where there was some alleged tampering of the register. And the commission itself announced that you're conducting some investigations. How far are you with the investigations, especially with the irregular transfer of very many voters from their polling stations?
Well, thank you very much for that question. But before I answer that question, let me just add to what my fellow commissioner has said. In terms of today's ruling, the people who went to court have known all along those were requirements. What begs the question is, why didn't they go to court earlier to seek for interpretation of these regulations before the nominations? So that's a question that Kenyans should be asking themselves. Because if they knew these things are unconstitutional, they should have gone to court early in December or last year when it was passed and get an interpretation. So I want to support what the commissioner said, that as a commission, we have already started the process, printing the ballot papers, but we still wait to hear what our legal team will advise. Now, coming back to the issue of the register. The register was audited by KPMG, and in the auditing process, they found the issues regarding the people who may have died between 2017 and now, and they removed all those names and they checked whether there were people who had registered twice, and they removed any of those and many other anomalies. People whose biometrics could not be able to match with IDs, all those kind of things. Those are the things they were auditing. However, the issue of some people who had been transferred into stations where they did not apply, the commission took a position that all those who have been transferred be reversed back to their station. That has been done, and it was done before the register audit was concluded. So as we start now, we think we are of the opinion that all those transfers have been taken
Do you
back.
know how that happened?
We not quite sure. That's why we said that we're investigating. As a commission, we would like to take a decision after the investigations have been done. We have engaged people to investigate, arising from the report from the KPMG audit. And as soon as we have known what has happened, we will be able to deal with the matter. But
Everything with the IEBC.
The first thing to do was to make sure that those people are back to their stations where they have been transferred from, and that has been completed. So I think that is something behind us now.
Commissioner,
everything
with the IEBC is time-bound.
Yes.
With this investigation, is there a timeline by which you want to know what happened to this irregular transfer of voters? Have you told the investigators we'd like a report back within this time so we can take appropriate action, so that you may know if there was some manipulation of the system, then you have sufficient time to address the manipulation of the system?
Actually, let me clarify here. Our system is not penetrable by an outsider. So if there is an individual staff member, like the chairman said, who may have done that, as soon as we get the investigation report, which probably in the next 1 or so week, we should be able to get some information about it, the commission will look at it and be able to make the decision on what to do with the member of staff involved.
What interim measures have you taken with the members of staff who are involved in handling the register?
What we have done as a commission is that we have withdrawn all the rights of access to, and limited the number of people who can access the register. And 2, we are now in the process of cutting the register from up to the polling station, so that we have the register of the people who are going to vote at that particular polling station, so that all the polling stations in Kenya you have the number of the people who are going to be voting from that. That is the process that is going on, and that process will be locked to that particular, the Kim's kit will be locked to that particular polling station so that nobody can access that. So that has been done, and the measures we have taken, we believe they are quite okay. Yes.
Vice Chair, there's, as we speak about the register now, and the way Commissioner is saying, now going to localize the register to each of the 46,232 polling stations. 33
yes.
polling stations across the country.
Yeah.
It basically means that when somebody goes into a specific polling station, they should find their details in that Kim's kit.
Yes.
The concerns have started to arise, especially when there is an unknown internal person, rat, mole, that could irregularly transfer very many voters. That the same could happen, that on voting day, you go and you find you are supposed to be on this particular register for this polling station, and you're not there. What are you doing to make sure that that doesn't happen?
Okay, thank you, Latif. What we are doing, as we cut the register to fit in the BVR, the Kim's kit, what is going on is that 7 days to election, we are going to paste to put up the register for that particular polling station outside that polling station. Yes, that register will be truncated, meaning that the ID numbers, some numbers will be blocked. So the purpose of doing this is to allow Kenyans to go to the various polling station and to check if they belong to that polling station. Now, step 2 is come the election day. They are going to come in, get identified by the Kim's kit, and then be given the ballots to vote. Remember, they know that they belong to that polling station. And there is no way that they will miss from the electronic register that has been fitted to that polling station. Because what we are using is basically what we have already given to Kenyans 7 days before the election.
In this 7-day period, say Eric goes to his polling station in Athi River and doesn't see his name plastered there. What recourse does Eric have?
Let me just add to that. We believe that it is most unlikely that if you are a registered voter and your name has been there, because this electronic registration started in 2012 for purposes of voting in 2013. We added the number again in 2017, and now we have added the number again to come to the current register of 22.1 million. Now, we do not expect anybody who is registered during that period of time to miss from the Kim's kit for that particular place. And unless you are not registered. Because let me tell you something.
Because a million people have been transferred.
There's no number. There's no million people. And I want to tell Kenyans there is nothing like that.
How many had been transferred?
There were a few people from Nyeri who have been transferred to somewhere in Wajir.
They were recalled back.
They were taken back. There were some people in Kiabu. They were taken back. So it is not that number. The number was much smaller. I don't even think it was maybe like in Nyeri. I think it was about 3,400.
That's
and they were all taken
number.
back. And they were all returned back. And you can confess that. All right? So what you're saying, the people who are talking about a million, I do not know where they got that information from.
Something else.
Yes.
Something else, let me add. We usually give Kenyans 30 days to do verification of their registration status, and that was given. That was, we allowed Kenyans to come in and to verify if they are in that register. And 30% or so came and verified. Verification means that you put your fingerprints and you identified through the biometrics. that one happened. 30 days according to the law it is given. Then we gave an SMS platform that you can query 70,000 and you get to see where you belong. So Kenyans have been given this opportunity to check where they belong. So come that day and you go and you find that you are nowhere. It means that these days that were provided for people to check and to allow IEBC to correct, even to correct the details of your name, maybe it has been captured wrongly, to be corrected. Something that has been captured on the opposite can be corrected. If that period, that window that was open, you did not take advantage of it, then it means that us Kenyans did not do our part. But this provision was given to us to verify ourselves. So come that day, you should be sure where you belong.
And that what he's saying is, it is very important that once you did that verification and they found either your details or your name does not appear, there's a form that one used to fill so that the anomaly that can be found once you verify can be corrected. That is the purpose of that exercise. But you know, Kenyans don't take advantage of those opportunities that they are given. And the other point is, during our voter registration, particularly the ECVR2, we were able to organize such that many Kenyans who may be living in Nairobi and they want to vote either in Mombasa or Kisumu, they could register or at the Huduma Center, so that once you register in Huduma Center, you'll be able to indicate where you want to vote, maybe in Bodo, maybe in Nakuru, wherever. And then your details are transferred to that polling station. So what you're saying is that the IEBC has given the opportunity to Kenyans to verify that information. When during that verification process, we learned about these transfers. That's the time we got about these transfers. And we started checking our records, and that is the time we realized there must have been some mistakes that have been made,
or mischief,
and that is why we took that action to reverse those transfers.
Okay.
Yeah.
So let's talk about these 46,233 polling stations.
Yes.
How many of them do not have 3G or 4G coverage?
Let me. According to the records we were given by Communication Authority, there are 1,111 polling centers, not polling stations,
okay,
that do not have 3G network. And that was from their desktop study, according to how the network is spread all over the country. On average, if they're about that, you could be talking about, if you say every center might be having maybe 3 or 4, 2 or 3 polling stations, we are talking about maybe 3,000 plus. Now, we have commissioned our team to confirm exactly which locations do not have 3G. And that report should be out in the next 1 week or so, because we must tell Kenyans before the elections where don't we have 3G network and what we are going to do. What we have provided for is to have satellite modem in those centers so that they can be able to transmit as required. And those modems are available. So it's a matter of now determining in the next week or so, 2 weeks or so, by mid of this month, we should be able to know exactly which polling stations or polling centers that do not have 3G network.
From this desktop figure that you got from the Communications Authority that told you it's about 1,111 polling centers, do you know how many voters would be affected from this specific 1,111 polling centers?
Let me put it this way.
If there was no transmission at all.
Let me tell you, let me clarify something here. the 3G network provision is for transmission,
Yes.
not for voting. Voting will happen with or without 3G network. Because the KIMS kit that is being used for voting is localized to that polling station, and it is not online, they are offline. They operate on a battery and a power bank. All right? So those ones, it will not affect any voter.
So voters will come.
Voters will come.
They will do their part.
They will vote.
Counting will happen.
Yes.
Forms will be signed.
Yes.
Transmission.
Transmission.
How many voters would be disenfranchised at the point of transmission?
Let me confirm, as I have told you,
Yes.
we are in the process of determining the actual, and we should be able to tell Kenyans how many polling stations, how many centers or polling stations that will not have. We cannot be able to tell them the actual number now, because that exercise that is ongoing as we are talking.
Latif, of importance is that the people will vote. And number two, the forms, the result form will be filled. Now, we are required by law that the form 34A for the presidential election is transmitted electronically.
Yeah.
So that is the point that we need the 3G network. So at that point, we'll use the modem to transmit that result to the constituency tallying center and to the national tallying center. So no voter will be disadvantaged, because actually we are deploying modems, satellite modems, that will be used to transmit these results in accordance with the law. Then the hard copy will also follow to the constituency tallying center and to the national tallying center. Yes. So nothing will be lost in between. Nothing.
You know, the question here is with regards to that transmission and the breakdown in communication or telecommunication.
Yes.
At that point, remember 2017 presidential petition. Now the issue is, how do you assure people and give them confidence that no matter what happens, we A, know what stations these are, B, we have tested and we know that it shall be able to transmit. As we speak today, both of you are saying that you still don't have the exact stations, and so you haven't directly tested to make sure that these modems that you're talking about will work. In a week or so, it means 21 days.
Let me tell you, this is a very easy exercise. What we want to do is to get the geo reference of that particular polling station, because that information is important, because the geolocation of that polling station is important. That is what we have to determine. But we have just told you, with or without 3G, we shall be able to transmit using the modem. Okay? So transmission will take place. The question is, we need to be transparent enough to Kenyans to tell them these are the polling stations that are using the modem. And I want to say this because even when we do simulation, we tried with modem in some of the areas where we know there's no 3G network, and it is working. So the issue of transmission is not a problem. Transmission will be done with or without 3G in some areas. The next thing is that original result form that was signed by the agents at the polling station must be delivered to the National Tallying Center. And according to the 2017, the Supreme Court ruling, the National Returning Officer will not announce the results until he has compared the transmitted image and the original. What does that mean? That the result is the original form that was signed
at the polling station.
At the polling station. The results signed and announced at the polling station are final.
Nothing else.
Nothing else. And there's nowhere else anybody will get an additional vote, not even one.
You conducted a simulation recently.
Yeah.
and you discovered some things. Some things worked, some things did not work. Let's start with what worked. What worked?
What worked? The image was transmitted, and we could see it at the National Tallying Center.
From all the centers that you heard?
Yes, though we discovered that it was slow. That's why we have proposed for another simulation, so that we can put pressure on the system and we see how fast it's going to work. Something else, we were showing the number of forms that had already been received at the National Tallying Center, and then you click in and then you find out the form that has actually arrived. So together with our stakeholders, we agreed to make it more simple, more user-friendly, so that at the glimpse of it, we are able to see this is the form that has arrived and how many forms have arrived so far. So we are making our system to be user-friendly. That is the bit that we learned from the simulation.
What challenges emerged, Commissioner Wandere? What challenges emerged? What did you discover? What did you see?
Okay.
This one we have to sort ourselves out.
Okay. One of the challenges we had at that particular time is we were working with the two service providers. Safaricom was not on board for some technical reasons that have been sorted out. That is probably the challenge that I would say, and that is why even the process was a bit slow. That has been sorted out, and we are sure that, of course, there is also the issue of logistics. There are some areas where the kit did not arrive in good time. All right? That logistical issue has also been sorted out. Otherwise, we are going to do another very successful transmission.
When you say that you need to pressure test the system, right?
Yeah.
Because you noticed that it was slow.
It's true.
What would that do if from August 9th, 10th, you're starting to transmit the results and it is slow? What's the effect of that?
And that's the reason why we are doing another simulation.
Yeah, what would the effect of that be if it became slow on the actual run, not a dry run?
You see, Latif, when you are planning things, you plan with the worst case scenario, not the best case. So that's why we are doing it now. Before the simulation that we are going to roll out, we are testing the system and putting pressure on it already. Before now, we tell our stakeholders, come on board, let's do it together. Let's do it together so that you are part and parcel of this process. So we will not wait until the last minute that this system does not hold the pressure. We are doing it now.
I hear you. My question is, just to explain, in the event it actually happened on the day, that there was some lag in the transmission, how would that translate? What is it that we will see as we're waiting for the results? Is that the results will not be arriving and starting to raise questions about where the results have gone?
No, it will not. It will probably, they will arrive at a slower rate. At a slower speed, it will take longer time to get the results. But we also believe that the experts and the technical people would be ready to address that kind of a problem if it came. We do not anticipate it, but we are ready to have the technical team, both from the service providers and ourselves, to be able to address that kind of a thing if it ever happens. Yeah, surely. I mean, you also drive your car on the road and sometimes it breaks down. And you have to look for a mechanic to come and fix it.
And you see, Latif, we know the anxiety that is in the country at that time. And that's why I'm telling you that we will not wait for it to come to that. And that's why avoidance of that, knowing our country, because we are Kenyans, we want the time to be as little as possible. We have 7 days, but we want to use as little time as possible.
When it comes to the other issues that were raised during the petition of the Supreme Court in 2017, there were several things that, IEBC was expected to have sorted out by now. if you were to look at all those things, all the list of the things that IEBC has been working on so far, what is remaining as a sticking point, and what is that challenge? What's the cause of that challenge? I know there have been questions that have been raised by the various political campaigns. Raila Odinga's campaign has raised issues. Kenya Kwanza campaign has raised issues. Election observers have also raised some issues. But now I'm just getting it from you. What is it that you feel we did not have sufficient time, or we have not been able to address as you should have addressed between 2017 and now?
Okay. The most important thing is the result transmission, the result path, which we have already put in place, which we are talking about. And there were some reforms that we forwarded our proposal, but they didn't see the light of the day. Nonetheless, still the transmission, because that petition reviewed that results as announced at the polling station is final, and it has to be transmitted from the polling station. So we've put mechanism to ensure that will happen. Now, when the results from the polling station are transmitted to the county tallying center and the national tallying center, and we find that there are mistakes in that form 34A, what we will do is we'll have another form that we will be recording the errors that we see, because results as announced at the polling station is final. Then we compile all that and result is announced. So when we come back and revisit, you will find that whatever was noted in an error form.
And this is by the presiding officer at the station?
Yes. By the presiding officer
or returning officer?
Returning officer at the tallying centers. Yeah. Even the returning officer at the national tally center. Yes.
So those then will be marked, yes, Commissioner?
Yeah. The only thing is to add that one of the reasons why 2017 petition was successful, it is because of the text. In other words, during that time, the results that were and the form that were at the polling station that were signed, was the data there was also text to the National Tallying Center, right? And that was cumulatively adding to the number of each presidential candidates according to the scores at the polling station, and that the Supreme Court said we cannot use. So we are not going to use that. We are not going to send data. We are only going to send the form, the image of the result form. Now, the one challenge we will have, and which I think Kenyans should contend with, is that the National Tallying Center or returning officer, who is the chairman of IEBC, will not announce the results until the original form has come. What does that mean? Form 34A at the polling station is transmitted to the National Tallying Center and to the County Tallying Center. Then the constituency will add all the forms from all the polling stations within that constituency.
Right.
Take, for example, Makandara in Nairobi. They could be having about 200 polling stations. The returning officer at the constituency must get all those 200 forms and the form and fill in the form 34B. Right? After he has done that, or she has done that, she still has other 5 positions
to deal with. But
she is also required to deliver the original Form 34B together with the attachments of Form 34A originals to the National Tallying Center, so that the National Returning Officer can be able to do the summation and they have the totals. What does that mean? It means that it's going to take a bit of time. Whether we like it or not, because that is what the Supreme Court said. And
so this is the process then.
That's the process.
And this is then what we are saying, that let's assume that from, say, about 10 p.m. on the 9th of August,
Yes.
we start getting, some polling centers announcing their local result.
Yes.
At the polling station.
Polling stations, yes.
They announce the result. The presiding officer and the agents fill out Form 34A.
And the sign.
And they sign. This is transmitted to Bomas of Kenya.
Yes.
And is also transmitted to the constituency
Yes.
tallying center.
Correct.
So the constituency returning officer must wait for all Form 34As
From his polling, from that
from
constituency.
that constituency.
Correct.
Before then they fill out Form 34B.
Yes.
And at this point, what's happening at Bomas is everybody's just watching
Yes.
Waiting.
and waiting
Yeah.
and just observing.
Yes.
Now we have the clarification. The media is also broadcasting this from the polling stations and saying this is what has happened.
Yes.
But Chebukati says nothing
Yes.
until
They come.
he receives the hard copy,
The hard copy, the original.
the original copy.
Yes.
How many days do you give it? Consider all those things that we're talking about. Challenges of transmission,
Logistics.
and then there's the logistical issues. How many days do we give it? How many days have you gamed this thing and seen?
No,
it's
we are
corrected?
given 7 days. That's the law. So we have to do all that within 7 days.
How many days do you give it? The law says 7 days.
Yes.
How many days do you give it?
We'd like to do it within the
The
earliest
least
possible.
time possible.
How many
We
days
want-
do you give it? I'm asking a very specific question. You have done all this math and you have seen what is the weight of the job that you have to do.
Yeah.
And you're talking about the entire country. And you're talking about a returning officer and agents and clerks who have been working for 48 hours. They haven't slept or taken a break. How many days do we give it? There are previous elections we've seen how long it's taken.
Let me put you to perspective.
Yeah.
On the 9th, we do the polling. At night, results start trickling in from the polling station to the constituency. The constituency returning officer waits for the originals to come so that now they can key in and do the summations and fill the 34B and finish. That one takes us to the whole night and the next day. The earliest is the whole night, and in the morning we'll get some of the constituency returning officers coming to Bomas. Yes.
Leaving their constituencies
Yes.
with the forms,
Coming to Bomas.
heading towards Nairobi.
Yeah.
Yes.
And they must all come towards Nairobi.
Yes.
Yes.
And that is the process. And
That's
we
what
have to
happened in the
verify
fresh presidential
everything.
elections. Fresh presidential elections that were done in 2017. That's what was done. Now we anticipate that to take a little longer.
Yeah,
than
because
it
of
did.
the numbers.
Probably we are talking about maybe by around the 4th, 5th day. That's the time you could be
Finalized.
getting. Yeah. Your guess is good as mine, because we know some hardship areas. For example, people in Turkana, Northeastern, West Pokot, they may take a bit of time. But we also know that probably there aren't very many voters in those areas. So we will facilitate our returning officers as much as we can to be able
This
to.
is by road and by air?
Yes.
Both.
Yes,
By
by
road
road
and
and
by
by
air.
air.
Yes,
Yes.
yes.
So it's possible to basically airlift the presiding officers and take them to a
No,
returning
very-
officer, so the returning officer can then fill up this form quickly and start being airlifted towards.
Basically,
Nairobi.
the
Yeah,
distance between the polling presiding officer and the returning officer is just, it's not
It's not too big.
It's not too big.
Yeah.
But from the returning officer to the presidential returning officer, yes, airlifting is very possible. Yeah. But
That's-
something else
Yes.
to reduce that anxiety as the commission, that's why we have opened up the process to our stakeholders, the media, to come in and, if possible, to the very polling station and to air to Kenyans what is happening. When our presiding officer has filled that 34A and is announcing, if it can be captured, that is going to be great for our country. That's why we have said, just get yourself accredited to be able to access our polling station and our tallying center, because through our partnership, you're able to show Kenyans in real time what is happening in the constituencies, and if you are able to, at the polling station. Yes.
I wish you could get enough people to cover every polling station. Every
The
polling
46,
station.
Yeah.
200.
And you 46,233, so that once the results are announced at the polling station, you capture that information, and everybody, you tell Kenyans that so and so in this polling station called X got so much, the one got so much. You know that way.
This is Kenya. So let's look at the other side.
Okay, there.
Mischief. Okay. One of the things that, one of the reasons that has been advanced before for trying to control who makes this announcement is because of mischief. What are you doing about that? If, for example, obviously you are not going to have media in the 46,233, you're not going to have all presidential candidates having agents in the 46,233. You may have some areas where somebody just runs ahead and says, this is the result from this particular area.
Let me tell you, it's only IEBC that will announce results. Let's be clear with that. Only IEBC. The gazetted returning officers will announce the results, and that is the legit. But what we are saying is media can call out results. It has been done in other African countries. Best practice is Ghana. There is a media house called Joy House, Media House, and they've done it so successfully. So if our media houses are going to follow or take up, that will be a great thing. So we are clear that the people who are going to announce the result is IEBC. And that is the final. Because they are gazetted people to do that. The media and any other person will call out the result.
Let me tell you, you're talking about
the difference in the use of the word announce, declare, call out.
And it is by law.
Right? So if we say it seems that candidate A is winning in this particular county, that is not announcing the result.
Yeah, you're calling out.
That is just calling out.
You will just say so and so has scored so much, so and so has scored so much, so and so has scored so much. And we want to caution particularly the agents and also the media. Please announce the results that will be announced by the IEBC returning officer. That is all you are supposed to say. Yes. What the candidate got there. If you, it is illegal, an electoral offense to give or to announce something different. And then you cannot announce something different because you, the media guys, you'll be given a copy of the results. All the agents will be given a copy of the results. There will be one pinned at the door of the polling station. There will be one in the box inside and one on the side. And so there are enough copies for everybody. So if you, particularly either an agent or somebody, want to say that here candidate A got 500 and another person says 5,000, there's evidence from everybody else that he got 500, not 5,000. All right? So that will be an election offense for you to declare results other than the ones that have been announced, and you are subject to prosecution.
After the fact, after you've caused the acrimony, after you've caused the anxiety, after you've, that's what I'm asking.
We want to ask Kenyans to
with the kind of history that we've seen,
yes,
where it's likely to happen, mischief, a mischievous person, some blogger could sit somewhere and actually start saying that they are what they're doing is they're calling out the results from what they're seeing from, they have people across the country, and they start indicating that candidate A is leading by 7,000 votes when they're actually losing, or they're behind by 10,000. That is a matter of concern.
It is.
And it creates a perception in the public.
Yes.
What is the commission doing to address such?
You see, what we have done is it is the image that is being transmitted, and the image will be available in a public portal. So, and the agents that are in the polling station will get access to it. The media will have access to it. And you can take the photo of that image. And this is a public document, and there is no other document from that polling station. Yes, so we are saying, just like my fellow commissioner has said, that everyone has a copy of this result. So when you say, in this polling station, my candidate got this, and it is not the right one, all Kenyans will know that is a lie. And then as Kenyans, we know the legit, we know the media houses, and you have a following, you have an audience that follow you, like KTN, like NTV and the like. So with those ones, we know that they are legit. But if it is someone that is skewed, of course, they'll have perceptions. And you are able to go back to the portal and verify that 34A that is in contention.
You are our best friend, the media.
Yeah.
You are our best friend to maintain this. That's why we went into an MOU with you, so that you can work together. Because if somebody somewhere, a blogger, says this was the result in this polling station, and the media is telling Kenyans the result is this and that, Kenyans will believe you. Kenyans trust what you say. Of course, we will be working with the law enforcement agents to try and arrest those kind of situations if they arise. But the media is our best friend. We work with you. You'll be saying what you are receiving from whatever source. The correct position is this. And I'm sure media want peace in this country more than everybody else. And we as commission want peace in this country. So those bloggers and whatever people who will be trying to play game, the law enforcement agents will be available to deal with that. And you'll be there to say the truth, which we have given you and which we are sharing with you.
We'll do elephant in the room. And this is with voter identification. And at that point, when you get in and the Kim's kits, the commission itself seems to be flip-flopping. And one day you say, all right, we're only going to use electronic voter identification. Another day we're going to have a complementary manual voter identification. And it has now split the leading campaigns on both sides. Azimio says, be happy if you're going to have a complementary manual voter identification. And the Kenya Kwanza says, we were happy before with what you are calling a complementary technology voter identification. So are you not the ones who are causing this confusion? And what are the merits of having a complementary manual transmission? What was the issue that the chairman was addressing previously when he was saying, let's not have a hard copy book in the polling stations?
I'm glad you said previously, because this is a matter in court. We will wish not to discuss on it. But now that you say previously, what were we standing for? This is the thing, that when you come to the polling station, you get identified by your biometrics. So if you put your fingerprint, your details are going to pop out. Then using your ID, you're going to compare with that information there, and then you are cleared to be given ballot papers. That is the normal process. Another process, you come in, your biometrics are not able to pop up the information, so we use your ID. You'll not be sent away because you're not identified by your biometrics. We use your ID, type the ID number on the KIMS kit, and your information pops out. Then we compare. We also have your photo. Then yes, you are the voter, you are given the biometrics. You are given the ballots. Now, another way, having the printed register on the side. So after that is done and your name is cancelled, and you proceed to get the ballot papers and you vote. So by experience and the post-election evaluation, there have been misuse of this manual register, so that after all my voters have come and voted and gone, and I look at the register, I see there is 100+ people that did not come to the polling station. So if we are all of the same
persuasion,
we say, why don't we vote for so and so? So what we do, we look at the ID number on the manual register, type it on the KIMS kit, information pops out, and we say that person
has turned up to vote.
Exactly.
And you cancel it on the book.
And you cancel it on the book and you proceed.
And these are incidents where you have people of the same political persuasion
exactly
in the polling station.
Yes.
Say they all belong to one alliance
exactly.
or coalition.
Yes, I'll say it is a homogeneous kind of group.
Okay.
So what we are saying as IEBC, that we want the people who are physically present at the polling station to be the ones to vote. Because our voting system is such that you have to come to the polling station and vote. And that's why our register, we remove the dead people, because we don't want people who are not physically present to be given the chance to vote. Now we are proposing that we remove the manual register so that we don't have the information of the ID numbers of the people who have not come to the polling station. So as a commission, we stand at a point that we want free and fair election. It is with good faith that we proposed what we proposed. But since it is now a matter in court, that is what we had in mind, and now it is in court, so we wait for the decision.
I think I would like to add something here. The commission is the only body constituted by law and the constitution to deliver credible elections. What I'm driving at is that those people who may be pushing for this or that or the other, if things go wrong, the buck stops with the commission. So we would like to advise the viewers that we are doing this for the integrity of the election. We are doing this to make sure that only those people who are registered and who walk to a polling station are going to vote. A very good example. We may be having a lot of difference between agents there on who we want as a member of parliament, MCA, senator, and whatever. But we may be saying our presidential candidate is so and so. And that is what Commissioner here has said. We are trying to cure those mischiefs. Because if we don't, then we have not cured some of the issues that made the nullification of 2017.
That wound up in the Supreme Court. The questions that are being asked, how is it possible that you have 6 ballot boxes, some have more?
I was coming to that. That is why you may find, for example, if you walk to a polling station and you are cleared through the KIMS kit and you are told to go and take the ballot, you are given 6 ballot papers. That means you must vote for everybody. And the KIMS kit will also indicate who has voted what number. If you are 200 and I come in, I become 201. And they keep adding that number until, and we have a tracking system whereby every 2 or 3 hours they report to the National Tallying Center and that so many people have voted. That is where we can tell you by 10 o'clock so many people have, a certain percentage has voted. So if we don't work with the KIMS kit to identify the people who come to vote, you will realize that you may, towards the end of the day, realize that every other ballot box of all the other positions has maybe 5,001. The president has 6,001. That is what we want to avoid. Because if we don't do that, then we are running into trouble. So I'm appealing to political parties to look and compare. What we have said Opposition was that they have insisted, and you are saying there is no problem. We could have that, the complementary mechanism that was envisaged in 2017 Court of Appeal ruling was that you use the KIMS kit to identify biometrics. If you don't get identified biometric, alphanumerics, what my sister here has said, and they ruled that the register will only be used where everything else has failed.
If these ones fail, that's when you come to the manual.
If everything else has failed.
Everything else fails.
But we as a commission, we are making sure nothing is going to fail.
Okay.
Yes.
If you don't have this manual register, and you only have the KIMS kit, and like you've said, you have biometrics, the fingerprints are not reading, so it doesn't pop up. You put in your ID and for some reason it doesn't pop up. Or the KIMS kit itself dies. Battery, software, whatever happens on the day, it's a piece of equipment, it basically dies. Then what?
Let me tell you. We have provided a KIMS kit for every polling station. And we have provided an additional 6 spare KIMS kit per ward. All right? And we have provided additional backup in terms of technical support from our staff, IT staff. And if one KIMS kit falls in one polling station, then it's very easy to have another one to replace that one. So it is unlikely that in one ward you have more than 6 KIMS kit failing. We have power backup, batteries. So, unless abnormal circumstances, very abnormal circumstances.
Worst case scenario.
Yeah, worst case scenario.
Because we would
use the register.
Station, you're talking about sort of a backup of what?
Just in case.
20%?
Yes.
If they fail.
That is the worst case scenario.
It
is enough to send you back to the entire process like we saw in 2017.
How?
If they all fail in a ward, plus the 6,006, how many that are backup?
Really? Okay, we talk about
if. Never failed.
I'm asking, what would make all the, for example, a ward has maybe about
the same kind of rats that were transferring voters?
No.
You cannot interfere with the KIMS kit.
Internal mischief.
No, you cannot interfere with the KIMS kit. This thing is not online, all right? It is offline. It is fully charged. It has a power bank backup. That when it is fully charged, it can go for 12 hours, right? And you have a power bank just in case this is running out. If it fails to perform well, we have technical people within that particular ward who are going to assist. All right? So, okay, technology is technology. There can be problem. But when you're talking about mass failure of KIMS kit, it can only be maneuvered or something wrong happening. And let me tell you something else. When you are assisted by using your ID, there is a form that you're supposed to fill. All right? And we are training our POs at the polling station that we are monitoring how many of those forms you have filled. We want to know. So that if you see something is happening that too often in a certain polling station, is a red flag.
Yeah.
So we are doing our best, and we can only cooperate with the Kenyans. I know our polling officials, poll officials are Kenyans, and we want them to behave like IEBC officials on that particular day.
Of course,
because if any of them causes or makes some mischief, that person will be liable personally, and you go to jail for 2 years personally. It will not be IEBC. It is you at the station.
Commissioner Francis Wanderi, thank you very much for joining us this evening. Vice Chairperson Juliana Cherera, also asante sana for joining us. Give a final word to Kenyans with the 33 days remaining. Give us an assurance that we are going to have a fair, credible election come August 9th.
Thank you. As IEBC, it is our commitment to give Kenyans a free, fair, credible elections, and we have followed through our timelines, and we are at par. We are so prepared for the coming general election. We have done what it takes. We've already recruited, and some areas are in the process of recruiting the polling staff. Training is going to run through next week. We are doing the technology bit. The KIMS kit are already at the warehouse being processed and prepared. The register is ready, and it is being cut into pieces that will be fitted in the KIMS kit. So we are doing all that it takes, and we are keen with the timelines, and especially the statutory timelines that have been gazetted, and we ensure that since election is a process, we are following through the process so that this election is free, fair, credible, and Kenyans trust us. What we ask you is give us peace in this time. Be a peacemaker between yourself and your neighbor. That is all we require from you. Thank you.
Thank you very much for watching us tonight. We've been having IEBC Commissioners, Vice Chairperson Juliana Cherera and Commissioner Francis Wanderi talking about IEBC's preparedness ahead of the August 9th general election. My name is Eric Latif. Do have a good evening. This is Newsline.